do want to see. I think it's especially poignant to remember that like it was pretty intense. We all had a pretty intense 2020, I think, right in the middle of the Peter Farrell Cup, just as things were kind of kicking off, we went into lockdown and flipped it all online. This year, we're super lucky that we've taken our learnings from that experience and we're now offering the PFC in this beautiful kind of blended model, which means y'all at home can still be involved as well. And everyone here has the same opportunity to participate, no matter whether you're here in Australia or overseas as well. All right, so meet the team. My name's Tash Jamison. Normally, I charade as the Global Programs Manager, so I look after all of you who have world domination in your sights. Laura, obviously Laura at the back there, can you wave to everyone, please? Laura Earle, who is really, she's here part of the MCIC crew. She's the Senior Manager here and also kind of the head of the PFC program itself. We also have Alex Fletcher. You would have met Alex when you came inside today. She signed you in. Alex is helping us out as part of the crew this year. Fortunately, you've also got the additional support of two other amazing team members from the UNSW founders team. We have Kristen Phillips. Kristen, wave your hands, turn around. Everyone online, Kristen's waving, she looks great. Kristen is the New Wave program manager and is actually looking after this additional strain for female and women entrepreneurs. We also have Phil Duran. Phil, could you stand up and wave for me? Yes, Phil at the back there. Phil is making sure that your journey with your mentor is seamless and spot on and that you get the most out of that really, really incredible experience. I can't underestimate how awesome the mentorship and the mentors that we get on board for this program are. So make sure you keep in contact with Phil and get the most out of that experience. We are very lucky tonight that our first speaker is Pasha Rayan, who is an incredible friend of UNSW founders, an awesome young entrepreneur. So for those of you who don't know Pasha already, he is the founder of a company called The Forage, which was previously known as Inside Sherpa. They run awesome online and virtual internships and education programs for students like yourself, but also really what they're doing is trying to open up access to amazing internships to people who might not be able to come into the big city to work with a Deloitte or a Microsoft. Pasha is also a graduate of the UNSW Founders 10X program and a graduate of the very, very well-known Y Combinator over in the States. I'm not sure which one's better, who knows, probably on equal footing, right? Yeah, I think so. So Pasha's gonna come in to tell you a little bit about his founder's journey. Pasha, you wanna come and take the stage?
Awesome.
Woo! Yeah!
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Pasha, and as Tash said, I'm one of the co-founders of Forage. Before I ramble on about a few things, you know, like you're really lucky to be working with the team here at the MCIC. Like the team here is amazing. They're one of the few genuinely and authentically caring teams about student entrepreneurship around in the world. You know, like a lot of other universities are there just to kind of bolt it all on. But Tash, Phil, like, you know, everyone here generally wants to see you all succeed in the long run. And I actually have had a history of working with the startup teams here at UNSW for like a decade or more and know that that's kind of embedded into the culture here. But I'll go through a few things about myself and kind of like our story at Forage, and hopefully what this can do is kind of give you all a sense of what it might take, or what, you know, fun stories, or like, you know, whether, you know, doing entrepreneurship or starting a company is going to be interesting or useful for you. And I think about my journey and about like how I was sitting probably in your seat about 9 to 10 years ago, which is a terrifying thought, like a decade ago, thinking about what I wanted to do after I finished university. And I knew that at the end of the day, I wanted to basically make the world a better place. And it was not going to be clear and it wasn't obvious on how to do that, right? You know, I did a degree here and did some commerce, did some computer science, did some philosophy. And at the end of the day, it's like, what can I actually do to help people out? And, you know, I did what most students did after you kind of like finish your degree and get kind of a corporate job. And during that time, it was a lot of fun. You know, we spent, I spent 2 or 3 years, you know, passing through university and still wanting to actually make the world a better place in a certain or specific way. But I found myself basically working in the corporate world, kind of like solving problems and upskilling myself for a lot of things. Hopefully that would give me the skills to kind of like, be helpful to people in the future. And one thing that kept on bothering me, and I think this is kind of this, you know, you know, some problems really stick in your mind for like a few years, was a problem that I kind of faced even when I was at university, right? Was that when you're there sitting on the other end, trying to figure out what to do for the next 20 to 30 years of your life, no pressure, um, uh, it's actually really hard to figure that out. And it's really hard to know, like what we've seen over and over again of students, not just here at UNSW, but all around the world. And these could be students, in South Africa or like Harvard or Oxford or University of like Kazakhstan or something. And they all have the same anxieties about how to actually like how do you actually decide the next phase of your life. And that's kind of after my stint in the kind of the corporate world, me and my co-founder Tom went off and started Forage, and that has been like a crazy journey. So to give everyone some context, the company's only 3.5 years old, but now we've like got over 1 million students on our platform. And it's just after starting through what was like a small experiment, working out of the offices here at the MCIC, just two of us, it's kind of like grown into something which is a bit more, and something that is hopefully, from what we're seeing, making the world a better place. But I kind of have like 3 quick stories that I have to kind of hopefully give you a sense of like what it is to do a startup, and how I kind of chose to end up in a startup, and how interesting the ups and downs can be. And I think the first one is really when I was working as a management consultant in KPMG. That's it. That's kind of when I decided to make the jump into going into entrepreneurship. And it was at this point when I had been working for about 6 months at that time, helping nonprofits out with various operational and strategy issues that they had. And we just kept on seeing this kind of like thing over and over again, where a lot of great people who wanted to help out just couldn't actually scale up and build out the things that they needed to do over a longer period of time. And that was because they were always trying to like fundraise or like get more donations into like the bucket. And on the flip side, I'd also seen that, like if I stayed in a corporate career for like more than 2 or so years, the odds are like, and what I did was I looked into LinkedIn and saw what everyone did in my space, but 5 to 6 years in ahead. I was like, the odds are the longer you stay, the more likely you'll stay in a corporate career over time. So at that point, we realized that there was this huge opportunity for one, to kind of make organizations that could reinvest and build something in themselves, and two, like like actually like it was for me like a chance for us to realize, hey, this is what we want to do, and I've got the skills now after 2 or 3 years, and I'm going to jump off and make the fun leap into entrepreneurship. So like I think like the crazy thing about that whole thing was that you'd be sitting down there gaining these skills, and then you'd actually have to end up making the call that, hey, the next 3 to 6 years of my life, I'm going to go and dedicate to making something really helpful and engaging for someone else out there. And then we started Forage. And, like long story short, we ended up coming from here in the MCIC to expanding all around the world, in America and the UK and India and Singapore and all these kind of places. And I think the funniest thing that kind of made me realize how important it was to have our startup there, Forage, the virtual work experiences to help anyone upskill, was that we were walking around Stanford in California on campus. And we were just, like, as you would, all of you should probably do over the next few months, just try to talk to your potential users. And, like, just no shame, went up and talked to students and just asked them what their biggest problems about their careers were. And I think the funny thing that we found, like the craziest thing we saw in Stanford was we went up and talked to a student there, and we asked them, like, what's the biggest problem you have for your career? And this isn't a problem as much in Australia, but like this student came back to us and was like, look, I really like what you're doing at Forage, but my father knows like XYZ in this particular company, and I can get any job I want around here. So like, I probably don't need to use your product. And for us, that was like shocking, because like we kind of really want to create a world where anyone from any background can upskill into like amazing careers. And just to see that kind of like happen in this day and age was like like a big wake up call for us. And that's when that things like that made us like work a lot harder. So we had created a company, taken the leap, created a company, found that there were like issues to solve in the world that could make it a bit better in its own little way. And we were just genuinely surprised that as we went out there and we talked to people, we found that there was so much that we could do to actually make things a lot better. And I think the last kind of dot point, I guess, I have around like the stories that really helped like make me kind of feel like that what we're doing is kind of worthwhile. Building a company, building a startup, right? Is that with the product that we've made, the code that we've written, the courses that we've like created with our partners, the business that actually is able to sustain itself, we're able to like help students that we didn't even think that we could help out before. So one of my favorite stories is of a student, her name is Paris and she's in the UK, and she has a 2-year-old son while she's going through university. And she just could not, she just didn't have the time to go out there and do an internship during the daytime because she has to go, be at home taking care of her son. And one of the most amazing things is that because of the work that we have done at Forage with our virtual work experience, remote internships and everything else, she was able to upskill and stand out compared to nearly every other candidate out there, in this competitive legal space in the UK, and eventually land a job, with have some of her dream firms. And the crazy thing for us was that, that was all enabled by the hard work that we had done over the last 2 to 3 years, just toiling away, trying to make something a little bit better over the last few years. And I think, one thing I do kind of want to end on here is that essentially, you're all here kind of looking forward about what you're going to do with your careers and what you're going to do with your startups and what you have as amazing ideas. And I do kind of want to say that, it's possible that, you can create things that make the world a better place in a little small way, right? And you all have the capacity to do that. We all went to the same university, so we're not advantage or disadvantage on that front. But you've all got the capability and the ability to kind of understand and figure out how, in your particular way, something can get better and turn that into an organization, a business that can kind of make a difference. So I think on that note, I'd like to wrap up and kind of say good luck to all of you. I have no doubt that within this crowd, many of you will do amazing things over the next few years. And we're really excited to kind of see what you will make over the next few months.
So my name's Laura. I am the program manager of PFC with Tash this year, but did run the program last year as well. So a bit of information about the actual program itself so that you know what to expect. All good. The first thing is this year that we've had an increase from 50 to 80 teams that will be accepted into the competition. This is an awesome opportunity for you to build networks even further than previous years have done. We also have 80 amazing industry mentors who will be supporting the program, who you will have an opportunity to meet a variety of through the different activities that happen in the PFC. So although you do get matched to a particular mentor who is going to support you, you will also have the opportunity to meet the others, or a lot of the others as well. So we have $20,000 in prize money, which has been changed slightly this year. There will be an $8,000 first prize for research translated for a HDR, higher degree research student, and their group. And then there'll also be an $8,000 early stage ideas prize for people who are literally, this week coming up with an idea that they're planning on bringing into the competition. Then there's a third prize. Technically, we were discussing this. Is it second? Is it third? But anyway, it's the next prize is $3,000 and a People's Choice Prize of $1,000. This isn't an exhaustive list of prizes. There might be more prizes added depending on the generosity of different people in our network. So if things get added, of course, I'll definitely let you know. But we're very grateful to the Farrell Family Foundation, and in particular, Peter Farrell, who has supported the PFC for the last 21 years. Aha. Okay, so here's a basic overview of the program. I'll run through it really quickly because you might have looked at this online and you'll receive lots of correspondence from us about it as well. But the big thing is that on the 3rd of March, applications close. Okay, we don't suggest you leave it to the last minute. If you have a computer glitch at 11:59, we won't be able to help you the next day, okay? I also lecture here at the university and get lots of those emails on the Monday following an exam due date. So just be aware that with PFC, it won't get you over the line. So do it the day before, and so forth. Then the next big thing for you guys is when the actual PFC education begins, the sessions. And what we've done this year is we've aligned the sessions to each topic that will be covered in the judging criteria. So each week you will literally build up your slide deck to what you could pitch on for the pitch fests. We're trying this out. Everything we do in entrepreneurship is a test, an experiment. We want to instill that mindset in you as well as people who participate in the program. So we'll be, working through the process together. The mentor match up on the 17th of March is that big fun event that will be held in the city. There will be a few different options because we know we have people that are online and people that will be face-to-face, and we have mentors that are online and also face-to-face. So we'll be matching people based on the different availability, the different time zones, and things like that. But 17th of March is a big date for you to remember when you'll get to meet not only your mentor for the first time, but also some of those other mentors who are supporting the program. The education runs through and over about a 5-week period. It works out to about 15 hours over that 5-week period. So please be aware that we don't expect you to be giving up your lives. We know this is extracurricular. We know that you give your time to a lot of different things. So that's the sort of base level of education that will be provided. Then you'll be meeting with your mentors at your own discretion. And of course, we're always here to support you in terms of coaching if you so choose. The big next thing, pitch fests. They'll be between the 10th to the 14th of May. And then of course, the big finals night on the 26th of May. So from pitch fests, 10 teams will be chosen to move through to the pitch finals on the 26th of May. The pitch finals will be pre-recorded and streamed, but we are hoping, if COVID likes us, that we might be able to have some form of live event to support the watching of that streaming. You can see underneath, there's always founder support. There will be the industry mentoring, and we do have this specific women's line that is supporting the teams this year. Don't know if you guys know, but women are hugely underrepresented in the entrepreneurship ecosystem, and so particularly as founders. And so we're really working hard to make sure that women feel supported to be part of our program and then beyond into the ecosystem. So we will send you these slides afterwards, but if you don't have a team, Monday is the team matching. It's an hour, it's online. If you don't have a team, please be aware your team does not have to be UNSW. Your team leader has to be a UNSW student or HDR candidate. The rest of your team could be made up of other people from other places. And then the application's closing on the 3rd of March. We'll be announcing who was successful on the 5th of March. So you'll all receive emails about that. And we have other support for people who are unsuccessful but want to continue their startup journey. So please don't feel like if you're not successful in this program, that's the end and you're going to a corporate life of some company that I won't say. So those are the main things. So a couple of FAQs so that you know some questions that we regularly get asked and know what the answers are. Question number 1, what if my team makes money during the competition? Well, that's obviously awesome news because it means that you are definitely on the right track and have, some traction behind you. It's totally fine so long as at the time of application, your team has not received more than $3,000 in funding. The reason it's $3,000 is because we do understand that you might attend a pitch night, which is very, very early stage, but it might have prize money. And so some teams, even through founders programs, will have done a hackathon or a pitch night and will have received some prize money. But that's all prior to the competition application due date. And I can see that there are questions coming through on the chat, but we'll come back to that. Can I add teammates? And what skills do I need in my team? So yes, you can add teammates up until the pitch fests. Please talk to us if you are adding teammates. It just means that we need to do a little bit of background admin. What skills do I need in my team? Well, one of our very successful 10X alumni are 2 women who have no tech skills and have developed an amazing tech product. So realistically, what skills do you need in your team? Passion. Passion for the problem that you're trying to solve. Everything else can be worked out. Okay. We're not expecting at the end of PFC for a, like, you know, working prototype that you've tested on everyone in your market, or, you know, whatever it is. So please don't feel like we're expecting that level. And they're a great example of a team who achieved amazing things with no tech co-founders. Okay. But you definitely need a passion for the problem.
Sure. All right. Oh, no, you do that one.
Oh, okay. Okay. The next one is, how does mentoring work? So this year, based on feedback from last year, the mentors wanted to choose the teams they mentored. So we've set up this cool system. It's basically like a first in, best dressed. So after the successful applicants have been announced, the mentors will then have time to pick the team that they're going to support. Okay. We hope that this means that skill matching and passion matching, you know, will be really great this year. You'll then, at the mentor matching event, be matched and meet your mentor. That is the first time, 17th of March. From there, it's your responsibility to follow up with your mentor and organize how often you're going to meet them. We suggest maybe an hour every 1 to 2 weeks. Remember, the whole thing only goes for 10 weeks. Okay, so you want to make sure that you take advantage of their knowledge, network, and expertise.
All right. So how much of the Peter Farrell Cup workshops and training do you need to attend? This is if you want to get the LinkedIn badge. So you've all probably seen LinkedIn badges, these little icons that show in this kind of public forum that you've actually completed the program. You'll need to have done 80% of the workshops. Yeah. And for your team to be eligible to make it into the finals night, you'll need to have 70%. So keep in mind, you know, you can be a little bit flexible with which teammates maybe attend certain parts and things like that. So make sure you have a conversation up front with your team about the time commitments and who's going to attend what and when. Yeah. All right. Can you apply more than once? You absolutely can, but it has to be a different idea. So you can submit 3 ideas if you've got 3 brilliant ideas. Do keep in mind though that obviously if your idea, maybe you make it in twice, according to the judges, you'll have to only choose 1 idea. Yeah. What will be the format of the pitch fest and the pitch night? So as Laura mentioned before, this will be your kind of more traditional startup style pitch. We're going to work you through this process. The pitch fest is this kind of intensive few days where every single team who's made it in will pitch to a room of judges, and the top 10 will then be selected from the 80 teams. This will be done obviously the finals night, which is on the 26th of May. This will also be a video pitch. At the moment, it's likely that you will pre-record your pitch because we're trying to make this accessible for the online and the in-person audience as well.
So just on that, Pitch Fest pitching will be live.
Yes.
Online, but live. Yep, so you'll be given a time, you'll show up and you'll pitch. The finals one will be pre-recorded prior to the night. Okay, so just prepping. So for anyone who is participating in the program from overseas, we'll work out the times with you for Pitch Fest so that you can pitch live. How much time will it take every week?
Kind of talked about that.
Kind of talked about that. Every 2 weeks, it's about 2 to 3 hours of education, I guess, session, and then whatever extra you do with mentors or with a coach or as your team is up to you.
All right, so how can your application be successful and what is a Gaddy pitch? So those of you who have opened the application and started taking a look, you would have seen that one of the requirements is a video Gaddy pitch. So this is just a style of elevator pitch where you explain what is the problem that you're trying to solve, how you're trying to solve it, and then what is the impact of this. So a Gaddy pitch, the format goes, so you know how, well, what we do is so that, I'll give you an example, okay? So founders, so you know how it's really hard to start your own company and it can feel really daunting and intimidating and confusing. Well, what we do is support students, staff, and alumni founders to create their own companies and grow them sustainably. In fact, last year, we supported almost 400 startups alone. So that's an example of a Getty pitch. In the application form, you'll see a video online where me and Laura kind of go through that format again. It's quite simple, but if you're having trouble with formulating it, just reach out to us. We're super happy to kind of coach you through that format and how to make it really polished. Just remember that what we're trying to do is leave a lasting impact on your audience in about 30 seconds, yeah? Anything else?
Yeah, just the last question is around the difference between the HDR prize and the early stage idea prize. So high degree researchers for their thesis or, for their research have a specific topic. And so the HDR line or HDR prize line is that translation of the research. So if you're a HDR, but you have an early stage idea that isn't associated to your research through the university, you'll actually fall in the early stage ideas line, not in the HDR line. The HDR line is specifically for the translation of research. And you're going to learn a little bit more about this because we do have our winners from last year coming to speak now, soon, who will give you a bit more insight. And then we've got an early stage ideas team who are also coming to speak to you. All right, it's my great pleasure to introduce you now to Andrew and Laura, who were the winners of the 2020 Peter Farrell Cup. So let's give them a round of applause.
Hi guys, let me just start by saying thank you for the founders for having us back. We had a really exciting year last year being able to enter this amazing competition. So just for a bit of context, our team is called ALTEN. And what we've designed is essentially a medical device that uses a specialized gel that can mimic the human body. And the idea is that we can take organs, or in our case, because we do cancer research, tumor biopsies, and preserve it within the gel. So essentially, we can take tissues or organs outside of the body and preserve it in that gel so that we can test different types of treatments on it without ever exposing the patient to the side effects. And the beautiful thing about this is that our aim is trying to identify the best treatment so that we can relay that information to the doctors to personalize the best treatment for those patients. And our overall goal, of course, is to improve the survival chance of people with very severe types of cancer. So we had that idea, and that was actually part of our research project. And just for a bit of context, we are also a biomedical student, if you haven't gotten that idea from our product. But that's the thing. As scientists, we don't really know where to go from there. We have an idea, we tested it in the lab, it works pretty nicely, but where do we go from there? And this is where PFC helped a lot. We were introduced to PFC by actually one of our IP managers at Garvan Institute. And they told us of this program that can actually help us to kind of expand our views, to actually understand what it takes to get your idea to making an impact for society. Because that's why we're here. We have ideas. We want to make a difference. We want to help people. We want to do something, right? And so this is where PFC can really help. So in our case, when we applied for PFC, one of the first things that we needed was, well, we have our idea, who's going to be in our team? Obviously, we have Lau here. So she is of a medical background. I'm a research scientist, but she's also a research scientist. And we also have two other members, David and Mana, and they all have different expertise. And that's one of the first things that you guys will need to focus on today is think about your team. Think about who you can get along with, how you guys work, what are the dynamics? Because you all need to share that vision of your idea, your product, and being able to take that one step further every single time. So then afterwards, we applied for it, and luckily we were successful for it. And the first thing was those classes. Now, those classes were intense, but they were intense in a good way because they taught us a lot that if some of you are from a science or engineering background, might not be aware of. And that is understanding who your market is. What is your product and why should people care about it? Because obviously, in our case, we do a lot of research. We care about it because it's almost like our own baby. But other people might think it's like, yeah, so sounds pretty cool, but what's the point? And being able to understand that getting people to see your product and seeing the value in it is so important. And that's why throughout the entire PFC competition, communication is so important and it gets drilled on over and over. And it is great to have that skill. It's important to being able to articulate what your product does, why people, how it can help people, and why it's important for society. So then from there, we got our mentors. We had a really great mentor that actually continued on helping us even after the PFC. They helped us during the times when we were creating a pitch deck for investors, for creating our industry collaborators, our partners. And they were there in every step of the way, giving us feedbacks, telling us, okay, you can say this, or maybe focus on this. But what's really important is that these mentors, they have insight and experience that a lot of us don't. And they can help you with that. So having those mentors be able to drive us and help us in every step of the way was just really valuable, because it was very difficult to actually get that anywhere else. And so throughout the entire program, we had a lot of training from both the classes, and we got a lot of advice from our mentors. But what's more is that the people in Founders, like Laura, Dina, they were always there to help us as well. So if you have any questions, make sure you ask them, because they'll always do their best to actually, put you through to, and help you try and find whatever your current objective is or what your future aims is. And overall, throughout the entire PFC program, it was an amazing experience, because we got to learn a lot that we usually wouldn't have ever been exposed to. So for example, IP laws or government regulation on your product, being able to understand what it is that, what your obtainable market is. And in our case, because we're from a medical device background, we actually didn't know a lot that was involved in terms of the financing of it, and as well as the government regulation. And it was great just learning about all these things. And I think Lara would agree with that.
Yeah, yeah, I completely agree. So I don't have too much things to say that Andy already said, but I think from my point of view, the most important thing that I learned last year in the PFC was that the communication, how to transmit knowledge to people, because as he said, as a scientist, we sometimes came with really interesting ideas, really interesting ideas, and also or new discoveries, but we don't know how to transmit that knowledge to the public in general, and that's what we learned here. We don't get just that skills. We also got really useful tools to take the most advantage of our product.
Yeah. So overall, I think the thing is, the PFC gives you a really wonderful opportunity here. Take advantage of it. Learn from the people who are more experienced, who's been in this field, who knows a lot about how to create startups, where you need to go. And they've heard hundreds, if not thousands of ideas being pitched to them before. So they would know where your one would sit. They would know how to help you and what connections and networks that you would need to help you propel your idea forward. And most of all, have fun. I mean, that's the whole point of this, is to enjoy it. You've got, like, making mistakes is good. That's how you learn from it. And throughout all these times, trust me, we've made so many mistakes in our one. But yeah, every single time when we failed, say, an investor pitch, or we failed to get an industry collaborator, we got more insight. We learned what was actually important from an investor's point of view, from an industry point of view, from all those kind of things. So I think all of you here have a great passion, because you're here right now, you want to apply for this, you have a great idea that you want to drive forward. So have fun, and I'm sure you guys are going to do amazing. Good luck with it.
Good luck.
Thank you so much to Andrew and Laura. So winners of the 2020 Peter Farrell Cup. It's fantastic to have that kind of insight, and we definitely do hope that you do have fun. That is one of the key concepts of the Peter Farrell Cup.
Hello, we're ZELK. So we're a team of 4 girls called Zali, Emma and Lauren. And as you can see, we're not, Lauren and Kate, sorry. And as you can see, our idea was so last minute for the Peter Farrell Cup that our team name is just like an acrostic poem of our names. So yeah, we really were like a very early stage idea. So kind of our background and a bit of context about us is the 3 of us are rural girls. So we're all a couple of hours away from Sydney. And Lauren, who isn't here today, she's from Melbourne. And so we all go to UNSW currently and study different kinds of engineering, but mostly mechanical and renewable. And we all met at college. So yeah, we all met at college. And oh, perfect. Okay, here we go.
Look at that.
So yes, this is all of us and what we study. Oh, perfect. That's fine. So we all obviously went to college, which means that we were provided 3 meals a day every day of the week, and before that at boarding school, 3 meals a day every day a week. And we're all quite eco-conscious people and love a little peanut butter crumpet, a little Vegemite on toast. And we were sitting in the dining hall one morning and we were like, we're using so much plastic. And there were these little containers, I'm sure you would have seen them at hotels and kind of buffet breakfasts, and they were scattered all over the table. And we were like, this is so disgusting. Like, surely there's another way that we can do this. And we chatted about it a couple of times in 2019, but did nothing about it. And then 2020, maybe like the night before PFC is due, at about, we were in bed and someone saw it on their phone and texted everyone and texted texted me, Kate and Emma. Now, like, this is something that we could do and maybe try and solve the plastic container problem. And we knew that our solution needed to be physical. So then that's why Lauren joined the team, because she was very good at CAD. And then we submitted the form and luckily got in. And then, yeah, formed ZELK. Yay. And here's Emma.
So this is what we came up with. So we originally had nothing going to Peter Farrell Cup. Like, it doesn't matter if you have an idea or even if you don't have an idea, because it'll probably be flipped on its head when you meet your mentor. With our mentor, we changed our solution about 5 times. So it's part of that process of rapid prototyping, just like learn and absorb all the information you get and just go with the flow. Basically, we came up with a dispenser, and yeah, we did the modeling and stuff all throughout. So it's a bit of a commitment in terms of like, you work hard at what you're doing, but it just flows over, and it's nice being able to see just how far you come in such a short amount of time. So it's really rewarding in that way. Basically, I'll give you a bit of a rundown. So you pull down the handle and it gives you a little serve of Vegemite or peanut butter, whatever you like, onto your plate, and then away you go. You spread that on your toast. But it's basically removing that single portion plastic that you get. So it would be straight from the suppliers. So like Bega, or they do peanut butter and Zoosh and things. Oh yeah, I think so. And then the point of it is to remove, by having like a bigger plastic bag rather than the little ones, you actually stop the overfill. Like, it's a bit of less waste in terms of what you're using for peanut butter and whatnot when you're filling them up, the containers. And then also just less plastic in general. But so we had this idea, but we didn't really know how to approach it at all. And basically that's where the mentoring comes in, and the workshops we did. And it was just like mentoring, meeting people, getting to meet stakeholders. It was a really big learning curve, but just bouncing off ideas of people. And I think that's the best way. Even if you aren't sure about your idea, the skills that you learn through Peter Farrell Cup is just, you can take them onto any different way that you want. And it might not even be in a startup way, if that makes any.
Oh, that's me. So we obviously learned a lot more than we thought we would learn in Peter Farrell Cup. probably the most important thing that we learned was informal and formal pitching. So we had an idea, but when someone was like, oh, what's your idea? We were going, oh, so it's like this dispenser thing. It's pretty cool. There's like lots of plastic and stuff. And yeah, you should invest in us. And then we kind of got to the idea was like, okay, well, you know how you get all these single-use portion containers in hotels and things like that? Well, did you know that, what's the stat? That slide before?
Which one?
This one. That one.
So that's the waste of all boarding school and all colleges in Australia. They could fill up 10 buses worth every morning with just their plastic waste.
Yeah. So we kind of, you know, got some cool stats and said, this is a serious issue. And it was this kind of way of making people actually care about your problem. So that was definitely the most important thing that we learned from Peter Farrell Cup was, this is something that we're passionate about. We can jump up and down about it, but at the end of the day, you're not going to care unless we make you care. So, and that's obviously a skill that we've taken into everything. I mean, I used it in a debate today and we lost, but it's a good point. Yeah, so we learned how to present this problem in a way that people care. And then that actually took us on to talking to a lot of people. And we actually met with the CEO of Bega, who they own Vegemite and Zoosh, which makes all the jams and things like that. And we ended up pitching it to him and he was like, this is really cool. Like, we would love to know more. Here is all of our contacts within Bega. We're really keen to kind of get this off the ground and make it happen if you guys are willing to work at it. So that was obviously a bit of instant feedback saying, well, we've obviously learned how to take this conversation that we have at Dino, which is the dining hall, sorry, and pitch it to a big dog, and he loved it. So that's the sort of thing that we learned from PFC. Obviously, going beyond your comfort zone, just do it. We made so many phone calls and things like that. Some of them flopped. But some of them were actually really good. We got a lot of interest and a lot of traction with that sort of thing. David Garberg, who was our mentor, he was brutal but fantastic. So we were right into the engineering side of things, like how do we make this work? And he was kind of going, people don't care about the engineering, just make it look good, present the problem, and worry about all that stuff later. And so that was a whole new angle because, I mean, obviously coming from a team of engineers, we didn't really care about the aesthetics. We just wanted something that worked. And so obviously we started off pretty rough around the edges, but David polished us into a lovely stone. But yeah, obviously you can see how far we've come from PFC. I probably wouldn't have gotten up and talked like this in front of people before PFC, but now here we are, saying this was our idea that was pretty weak at the start, but now we've got a lot of people interested and we're pretty keen to get some prototyping and things happening this year as well. So yeah, do you guys have anything to add? Yeah. Woohoo! Jump in, get amongst it.
Thank you so much, Team ZELK. I just love that part of your story where you talk about looking at your problem from a different perspective. I think it's really important to remember that when you get matched with your mentors, sometimes having someone who's outside of your industry or outside of your discipline can actually be really, really helpful. So keep that in mind. All right, heading to the tail end, we now have Lochie Burke. So Lochie Burke is a mentor from both last year's PFC and this year. So Lochie's going to kind of talk about the mentoring experience. If you're lucky enough to get Lochie as a mentor, good on you, because he is actually the director of a company called Bodhi Solutions. He runs his own charity and also has already co-founded a company which has done incredibly well, a company called JAR Aerospace. So you're very lucky if you get Lochie. Lochie's going to talk to you about what that mentoring relationship can look like and kind of how to go through the process. Lochie's also the uncle of an amazing little box of puppies. So if you're lucky enough, you might get to meet the dog. So there you go.
Thank you. Alrighty. It's nice to be up here as an entrepreneur and not talk about my own businesses. So this is a bit of fun. Firstly, show of hands in the room at least. Do we have any mentors here, or is it all mentees? No. We've got Tash and Laura. Yeah, well, I think my main points is talking from a mentor's perspective. The coolest thing about entrepreneurship is you get the chance to work on all different stuff all the time. And as the people that you've heard from tonight, you surround yourself with good people, you learn a heap about a bunch of different industries. And as your career progresses, you know, you might be invested in different companies, you might be playing small roles in other areas. And before you know it, you're working in things from blockchain to aeronautics and the environment, right? And for that reason, it's, you know, a pretty special space to work because you give yourself an opportunity to see a lot of different things in the world. The other thing I really like about entrepreneurship, which I think is super interesting, is that if you're lucky, a bit of luck, and successful, you'll go through all the different stages of a business, you know, from start, potentially even to finish or, you know, exit or sale, right? So you'll see yourself as a garage startup founder, as I saw myself. You'll work to the point where you start making a bit of money. You might be lucky to be part of the PFC, to be part of 10X potentially after that. Find yourself here, a part of this ecosystem. Then before you know it, you know, you're generating more revenue. You bring on some staff. You're like, holy moly, I've got people working for me now. Then that grows, right? And you're not just looking after like a small team of people. You're now looking after a big company. It's actually an organization. You've got a board. You've got people that you're listening to and reporting to. And you've got big clients and big contracts, right? So you're now a completely different operator than you were obviously when you're in the garage. And so on and so forth until you're, you know, sitting as chairman at the head of the big mahogany table, or as you're doing your big heated exit negotiation, right? So yeah, I think cool because you work on different stuff, interesting because you are different, right? In a bunch of different phases, as opposed to not, you know, swinging shade at the corporate side of things, but you may go into your cubicle and stay there for 40 years and not learn too much about the things I just touched on. So as a mentor, why is that relevant? Well, as a mentor, I've been lucky enough to work with a startup who was thinking all about defense technology and making intuitive and interactive control systems for the F-35 and Hornet class fighter jets. So that was pretty cool. And then I wasn't involved because I was away in Melbourne for a year. But then after that, I was a mentor again with an amazing guy who already had a business established in Tanzania, where they help people get better access to education, specifically in the university system, by making it easier for them to pay and have access to banks and things like that. So essentially a fintech social enterprise, right? It's also super interesting. And then again, went away, lived over in India for a while. And then, as fortune has it, came back and worked as a mentor again with two amazing women who started up a company called Indus Global, where they look at e-waste recycling and partnering technology in first world with third world, right? So making it accessible for people in India to get things like our iPhone 10s that we might now take for granted, right? And for me as a mentor, that's amazing, right? Because I get to work my job. I get to do whatever I'm doing throughout the day, but I also get the opportunity to work with these incredibly smart, incredibly driven people with amazing ideas. So in close and summary to that, I still haven't won the PFC. The girls last year got very close. I am looking to win the PFC as a mentor this year. So come find me afterwards if you think you have a good idea, because I would love to take you guys through and yeah, get that 10K for you guys, of course. But anyways, thank you.
So here's questions. We are looking for a co-founder to join our team. Could you please provide some details about the team matching event?
That will be sent out. If you've RSVP'd to the events, you'll get the details about that tomorrow in an email. So basically Monday 22nd at 12 to 1 p.m. If you have an idea, you come online and you pitch your idea in 60 seconds. If you're someone who wants to find a team, so you're looking for a good idea to join, you also come and you can network with those idea holders, the team leaders later on. If you can't make Monday the 22nd, you can also submit your video pitch to me directly and we'll play it on the day.
From our next Elon Musk, I have a couple of startup ideas I'm toying with, one in space and the second in electric vehicles. I have a bit of traction, so far so good. Can I enter 2 ideas?
Yes, you can enter 2 ideas. But if both of your ideas get into the top 80 teams, you're going to have to just choose 1 idea.
Max number of members in the team, 5. Hello, Tash. Does the $3,000 include non-liquid assets? So no. So like your computer, or if you've received funding for your PhD, no, not that side of things. If you have I don't know, I think you're actually here, so you can come and talk to me if that doesn't clear it up, but yes. But no, it's funding or money that you've received for your business or your idea. And actually, just so everyone knows, because it did happen last year, you can't be launching a new product as part of an existing business. Okay, so like you can't have a revenue generated business that's launching a new product and bring that into the PFC. It's got to be like super early, fresh, new founders. Okay, with regards to funding, what about sponsorship? Not cash, for example. So sponsorship does count as funding,
but
not as a PhD.
Yeah, the question here is that not cash, for example, being given like AWS credits.
Oh yes, no, that's fine.
That's fine.
Yes, yeah. If you've been given access to a lab, let's say, because your technology is in some area or so forth. We've answered that. I'm currently in India. Is it possible for me to get guidance from mentors?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Anyone can get matched with a mentor. We're going to have mentors who are going to work completely online this year as well. We'll have mentors who are based here in Sydney. We'll also have mentors potentially overseas or interstate. So nothing stopping you if you're based in India or overseas getting access to a mentor.
Which answers our next question, which is, can I have a friend join from overseas? Absolutely. If you're a part of multiple teams, you can't be. In the PFC, you can only be a member of 1 team. So pick your idea and your team wisely. Is there a chance the mentor will extend their involvement beyond the 10 weeks? Yes, I think the ALTEN guys did speak about that. The mentors will often maintain their relationship with their teams well beyond the Peter Farrell Cup. That's why it's such a great networking opportunity. And also we have other mentors who you meet at the mentor matching who also will support you beyond the Peter Farrell Cup. So it's great for that industry engagement. And then I think the last thing, how and when are the 80 problems and teams first showcased? It's different for mentors as it is to the teams, but on the 5th, you'll be able to see every team that's been selected, and then you'll meet each other properly on the 10th of March at the first education session, at the first PFC education session. And then lastly, do we expose the entire information of my PhD project if I have an effective idea? In your application, yes. We are all bound by the UNSW Code of Conduct as staff who are judging the top 80 applicants. So yes, you will disclose in that, and please know that your ideas are protected. Just be totally aware though, everyone, because we do have quite a lot of questions around IP. IP isn't really worth anything. It's a bit different for people doing higher degree research, but it's not worth anything until you've actually got someone willing to pay for it. So 7 people in the world have the same idea at the exact same time. It's about execution. So just be aware on that, but you can definitely come and talk to us a bit more about it. And we do work with Knowledge Exchange on UNSW IP.
Someone asked which specific upskilling sessions will be recorded. Everything will be recorded, and you'll also get follow-up videos after each session. So if you can't make it at that exact time.
Cool. There's a question around, can we join a team if we are not a new UNSW student and want to join an existing team because the mentor matching event requires a ZID?
Ah, that's a great point. Thanks for picking up that flaw in my application process. I will deal with that.
Can I still lead a team if I graduate in April? Absolutely. So actually, you're eligible if you finished studying at the end of 2020 or over the summer. You're still eligible. Your graduation ceremony shouldn't be until May, and that's the cutoff, people who would have their graduation ceremonies in May. I've got a software-based idea that I've been working on personally for a year and have a working prototype. Is this eligible? Yes. Can we find team members after Monday, the 22nd of February? Yes. Okay, that's it. So that's the end of today.
Oh yeah, just quickly, just to remind you all, Monday, 12 to 1, team matching event. Come if you have an idea and you want to pick up team members. Come if you are just a person who wants to be a part of the PFC and wants to join an idea. Like I said, we'll email you with all the details. If you cannot make it in person to the online event, just let me know, send me your video pitch. We'll deal with it and we'll get you matched up.
Thank you so much for coming. You can always email us or, jump on the chat or whatever to ask us any questions. And we super look forward to seeing all of your applications on the 3rd of March. Thank you very much.